Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Hey sports fans, are you ready for an exhilarating gaming experience? Introducing VIPclub.lv, your ultimate online sportsbook and casino. VIPclub.lv offers a vast selection of sports, from football and basketball to tennis and baseball. Bet on your favorite teams and enjoy the thrill of the game. But that's not all. Our state-of-the-art online casino offers a dazzling array of games, including slots, blackjack, roulette, and live dealer tables. Win big with their fantastic promotions, rewards, and exclusive offers. Join VIPclub.lv today and get a generous 200% match welcome bonus to start your winning streak. And make sure to use code ECSI at sign-up. Bet it, win it, and cash it at VIPclub.lv. Visit VIPclub.lv now and play responsibly. VIPclub.lv, your sportsbook and casino extravaganza. Must be 21 or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Visit gambleware.org for help.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Wednesday, August 9th, Midday Market Report. That time of the week, good friend, colleague, Mr. Andrew McInnis here to break down some CFL for the weekend. And there's actually a little NFL. We were just talking for about a half hour. We never even talked that we got some NFL here. Actually, he did. He talked about the Ravens, so I can't lie there. Shout out to our new sponsor, VIPclub.lv. Always use the ECSI code at checkout. Tell them JD sent you, and they'll take good care of you there. So without further ado, yes, we survived, by the way. Yesterday, I don't know, some spots, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, tornado warnings, clean up today. Me here as well, but we survived and we're back. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Jeff, I'm happy you're safe. I know all about the storms. I know all about the rain. I'm happy you're safe. You're in the studio. Looking forward to week 10 in the CFL. Of course, NFL coming up soon, but week 10, the CFL. Let's build the bankrolls.
You know, it's hard to believe. You know, we were doing breakdowns not too long ago. Our thoughts pre-flop, who might be in the Grey Cup, where the value was. Now we're 10 weeks deep. We know the Elks are bad. We had a nice win on Sunday. It shouldn't have been, as you said, as hard. 3 turnovers, stupidity. But as we see in that last couple minutes of a CFL game, the flip-flop, grab the 3 and hold. And for us, it was a sweat, but we cashed.
I'm telling you, I mean, at this point, Jeff, I've told you and I told all kinds of people at the start of the year that usually when the money moves and the point spread changes, it's in the right direction. This year in the CFL, it's been the exact opposite of the right direction. It's taught me to stay confident. It's taught me to believe in my wager and not be thrown off. But what also has happened is it's led to, for me, sometimes having the worst of the number, clients, people spending their hard-earned money to read my reports and buy the picks that I love the most of the week, got +1, +1.5. Days later, it's at 2, 2.5. You spending at 10 cents extra, you're getting 3 points. Did not matter, of course, outright winner, but it's important. That what last week really taught me was to just really kind of stick with what you already believed in. And I got to mention here, this Brewers and Rockies game going on right now, Jeff, I believe it was just 4-0. It's now 5-4, bottom of the 5th inning. And I had a little sprinkle on the first 5 innings minus the hook for the Brewers. And I just got myself the luckiest win I'll have. And of course, it wasn't a premium play. It was just a small little sprinkle. And that's how things are going for me lately because I'm so low volume with baseball. You've talked about kind of taking a step back. And I don't know what to make an official play. I mean, these are like 0.25 unit bets for me at this point, but I had to mention that. Anybody watching live right now or sees this back, they're going to know that the Brew Crew just had a crazy comeback and Flexen just got rocked.
I go back to Sunday, and I know baseball has been brutal of late. So we do our Sunday action parlay, and I know how to read the market with the best of them. And I saw the Liberty at home getting 5.5. I saw the plus 180 on the money line. We used them against the Las Vegas Aces, who has already been crowned WNBA champs. We don't do a lot of WNBA. I sniffed that one out. They won by 40. So now I got my chest out like this. I felt very comfortable at 7 o'clock with our CFL play. So we only needed a minus 200 or 190 with the San Francisco Giants against the Oakland A's. Now, in the win-loss column, the San Francisco Giants had 30 more wins, a better pitching matchup with Cobb, up 6-3, and then next thing you know, Reggie Jackson, Vita Blue, Joe Rudy were playing for the A's. They outscore them 5-0, and we lose the minus 200. And our CFL Sunday play, a dog wins outright, plus 118 in the money line. So instead of cashing 3 parts of a parlay at plus 400, plus 450, and plus 1,000, the San Francisco Giants cost us all 3.
And it's always the A's. It's always the A's. It's always the teams that you don't expect it to be. And that's what happens, I find, all the time in a parlay. You make a parlay and you're like, somebody asked me, which one is the one you're worried about the most? And it's never that one. Yeah, that's the loser. It's the one that you least expected to be the worrisome one. And of course, like you said, I mean, you as you do it, and I receive them every week. You got the money line ones and then the point spread ones, and of course, all of them would have come through. And I was cheering for you. I texted you that day. I said, I'm riding with you. And I'll be completely honest. I thought that one was going to be the biggest sweat-free one too. And that's how it turned out. But, I think that I want to ask you, because you know the market so well, and we look at this, and I've used all these different odds programs. I always say that I don't want to miss out on getting the best of the number. And that's happened to me actually with NFL exhibition. I woke up this morning ready to do a couple write-ups on some games that I bet the night before. And I felt like I really didn't do my job right, Jeff, because I couldn't give out some of these plays I liked because the number moved so much. But with the CFL, it seems that the line movement has been almost just the opposite of what's correct. Do you think that we should start waiting until the weekend to lock these in? And although we want to tell people in advance and I want to get people on my plays, do you think the smart idea is to wait until game day?
Well, I'm noticing, and you're noticing, especially the Saturday and especially the Sunday games, the moves has been quote unquote false steam, and whichever way the move is gone, it's the other team that's been the winner. Again, last Sunday, that line got as high as 3. We bought the hook to 3.5. Didn't need it. A little sweaty at the end, of course, but they won outright. What you're seeing in the NFL, perfect example. Houston was 2 at New England on Thursday. It's up to 3.5. People are getting the camp reports. They're getting who's playing, who's not playing. Mac's probably not playing. Is Bailey Zappi playing? You're going to get a lot of Malik Cunningham, and then the rookie quarterback is going to get a few snaps and possessions for the Texans. So people are jumping on that. Seahawks were 2 against Minnesota. It's now 4.5. So you're seeing a lot of moves in the NFL. And in the CFL, those Saturday, Sunday games has been the false steam. People wake up, they want a piece of the action in the CFL. It's football. Which way did the line go? Let's follow the money, which hasn't been cashing tickets.
100%. And I think that one thing to pay attention to as well, in the NFL, I think you and I can both agree that you can make money betting on a team with injuries. Because of the point spread, right? The adjustments, not to win outright. It seems to me right now, you can make money betting against these teams because the depth isn't there as much. Dustin Crum is probably a bad example of this because He's the third string QB for Ottawa. He's probably been their best option all year. But you look around, like to jump, just to mention for this week, at some sports books, including DraftKings, you can get the Rough Riders as high as +4.5 against Montreal. A quote that I just saw that I was looking for here: Cody Fajardo practices sparingly, preparing to play with Cody, but the other two guys will be ready to play. We're taking our time and taking it easy with him. And they also have their number one running back that's really shaken up as well. But for some reason, we haven't seen a market adjustment. Now, my question is that just because there's not as much attention on the CFL, or is it because the books don't think it matters that much? I've told you before, I'm back to keeping it simple. I'm back to the basics in the CFL. I'm not overthinking things. Whether Saskatchewan wins or not, that game has field goal written all over it. I love getting 4.5 with Saskatchewan. I know we'll get to it later. I didn't want to jump ahead, but it's a really good example, I think, of the injuries that if you can get ahead of them and read those reports, I think that's the only example right now in the CFL is when you'd want to bet ahead of time. Other than that, you should be betting on game day. But if you see an injury and you pounce on it, I don't think these odds makers are seeing it as quickly as some of us that follow it every day are.
No, 100%. Now, don't forget too, the NFL is back. So maybe what the books are trying to do is wait as long as possible, get as much information as possible, knowing that the majority of the itchy football players now have the NFL. So you're still going to get the regulars that are going to play the CFL. I think the sharper people are actually anxiously awaiting, because like a college football slate on a Saturday, that there's 125 games, and anyone can give out Michigan or anyone can give out Ohio State. But when you try to get to the smaller conferences and pick and choose, because those are the less fed on markets, those are the less sharper numbers that you will get. And now the CFL is just the second option now, where why am I going to watch Saskatchewan and Montreal when I can be watching Denver and Arizona at 10 o'clock, or I'm going to be watching, the Commanders in Cleveland or Atlanta and Miami at 7 o'clock.
And it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. It really is. I mean, there's all the attention on it. It's why I tell people, I was talking to somebody the other day that's in this really interesting kind of point spread pool I never really heard of. And I said to him, just keep in mind, prime time, divisional, take the dog. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I was like, yeah, you don't even have to tell me who's playing. Like, you're probably going to make money more often than not if you're taking the dog in that game. He said, okay, I'll get back to you. I'll hold you to it. And, that's the thing. It's the reason why I say that is because everybody's watching that Sunday night game or the Monday night bailout game. But in the CFL, who has their eye on the Friday afternoon game right now, Friday evening? Nobody. Besides people like me that love the sport and follow it, and you as well, that follow it every week. But, there's the what do we call them? The influencers or whatever, the betting social people that were betting CFL in week 2 because they were bored. I don't bet CFL because I'm bored. I bet it because I want to make money and because I enjoy watching the games. But those people that are bored they're probably done betting the CFL now.
Well, and funny, I'll piggyback off of that, because you're a true degenerate if you're playing preseason NFL. Now, social media and the so-called experts say you can make more money in the preseason NFL than you can in week 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the NFL, because the numbers aren't as sharp. And if you have the right information on how many snaps Stroud's getting, how many snaps are the starters getting versus the second, third, and fourth string, therefore I have created an edge. The numbers are wrong, and therefore you can attack the preseason, because back in the older days, the first game was just for the kids. The second game was the warm up, and the third game was the dress rehearsal. One full half, you go to the locker room, and then you get the first possession of the second half, and then you get ready. You take week 4 off, and you get ready for the opening start of the NFL. That's all now changed, because you get more from the inter squad practices on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with the team staying local the Texans in town for the last 2-3 days of practice against the Pats, which didn't happen. But I'm just trying to say this is what's going on. Get a report there, and then the preseason game is meaningless.
Yes, absolutely. Do you? I find that people can read into it too much, certain things. I'm more of a totals guy in the preseason. And one of the ones I was talking about was actually you referencing the Patriots game. So I liked the under 38.5. And then at some books, one of the ones I used primarily was at 36 this morning.
Yep. Circus
that's
at
2.5 points.
Circus at 37. South Point is at 36.5. And that looks like the number right now. So they're basically telling you Texans win 20-17. That's what they're trying to tell you right now.
Well, you've heard me rant about this because I had fun, and this year it sounds like I just found out about this a few days ago that the so-called boys trip is going to be Bills and Patriots potentially, which is obviously the biggest marquee game of the fall. I'm just happy because that game actually falls earlier in the year, and I hate being cold, so I'm not going to a Patriots game in November or December this year if I go to that one. But look, I've been to 2 Patriots games in person, and all of them were, totaled like 13, 16 points. So here's the thing. You bring in Bill O'Brien. You got a new offensive coordinator, calling plays and mixing things up. You've got, mixing things up as far as the receivers. Mac Jones, he says he can throw downfield. Now we'll see if he can. The fans love Zappy as well. CJ Stroud for the Texans. You've got different coordinators everywhere on the Texans every year, it seems like. To me, it seems like too many new things are going on. Does that make sense? Like everyone thinks that new stuff is going to be like, wow, look at all these new pieces. We're going to see a 50-point shootout. Maybe the Patriots are going to be a more over team come week 4. But what have they done so far to convince me that they averaged their games, and the Patriots averaged 34 points last year. The Texans games averaged 30 points last year. And we're seeing in a preseason 36.5 still. I would still go under, Jeff, at 36.5.
Well, that's why they play the games, so we shall see for sure. Thursday, right? Let me get my day straight. Yeah, tomorrow, 9 p.m., Winnipeg travels to the Mighty Elks, an opening number of 12.5 with a 45.5, flat 12, and a 45 all across the Vegas Strip. A little copy and paste there. Every game, the line has moved in the Elks' direction. They have lost, if I'm correct, 23 straight or 24 straight at home now. Double-digit dogs to Winnipeg, who just looked like a juggernaut last week. Initial thoughts there?
Well, to update people, it was a bye week, as you talked about there for Edmonton. They've been getting the money every week for some reason. As you say, the head games from Vegas. We'll see if that's something going on. Coach McAdoo, there's been some changes there with him calling plays, and they've changed things up as far as the offensive coordinator there for Edmonton. They're also finally bringing in the Canadian quarterback Trey Ford, who I've been talking about for weeks on the show. Trying not to look biased as a fellow Canadian, but saying that, hey, what has Cornelius done to deserve the starting quarterback job? What's crazy is that Taylor Cornelius is about to go from the first string quarterback, Jeff, to the third stringer now. They're not even giving him second. So how would that feel if you were the starting QB for weeks and now you're the short yardage quarterback? That's what he is coming into this week. But realistically, he had his shots to make good use out of it, and he wasn't able to. Here's the problem is that you've got a Winnipeg team that just put 50 points up on a BC team in a revenge game. The two teams battling it out for the top spot in the West. Then you've got Calgary, Saskatchewan, Edmonton there near the bottom. I've tried this before with Edmonton. They have got 2 overs on the year and 6 unders. Now, I think that over 22.5 points in the first half is a good look. I'm not sure how confident I'd be in playing the full game over. Winnipeg doesn't really show much mercy, but they're really good on the run, and Edmonton stinks against the run. Would not surprise me if Brady Oliveira and company just run the ball into the ground in the second half. If Winnipeg goes into that second half with a 10-point lead, or something of that nature. But I'm looking for maybe 10 points out of Edmonton in the first half. If that, 10, 13 points. Would be pretty fortunate to get 13, but I think the first half goes over. As you talked about backstage to me, 12 points is a lot, but we've seen as high as 16 and a half points with this Edmonton team as underdogs. So really, has they done anything to prove to us that they should be getting our money at any point spread quite yet? Probably not. No. And some people might call me crazy for betting an over because, that you'd think that, well, Winnipeg has to carry the bulk of the scoring themselves. But let's be honest, Jeff, isn't this the spot? If we were able to ever to create a spot for the Edmonton Elks off a bye, incredibly rested, one of the last games of the week, or they've had like 13 days of rest. They changed the offensive coordinator, a new quarterback that's been chomping at the bit to get his opportunity, and they get to go up against maybe, as some people might call, fat and sassy Winnipeg team feeling great after last week. Wouldn't shock me to see some absolute madness in the first half of this game.
So over 22.5.
First half is my play, and I would love to it would make me feel good in my soul if the full game would go under and the first half would go over. I would feel that much better. It would just be a cool feeling.
I'll be rooting for that home for you. Friday night, 7:30, a real good game. Saskatchewan at Montreal, opening number of 5.5 of the 44. Seeing 4.5, 44.5 everywhere in Vegas. I talked to you backstage about this. I think I've faded Montreal the last 2 times at home, and I've had egg on my face. Saskatchewan came through on Sunday. Short week. Initial thoughts again would be to take Saskatchewan. Last week they in my eyes dominated. 3 stupid turnovers made the game close. I'm not sold on this Montreal team. I like the points here, to be honest with you.
Well, and the thing is like the only thing that would hold me off from making this a pretty big play, and I still like the Riders, is the turnovers. But to what point can you start saying, well, if they clean those up, if those were cleaned up, right? 2 weeks ago, my case, or going into last week, my case for the Riders was that they had 400 yards in Halifax in the touchdown Atlantic game against Toronto, and they turned that into 13 points. 400 passing yards. That's got to be fixed. They fumbled in the end zone, as you and I discussed last week going into the half. That could have led to, being 20 points maybe for them. And then last week, Mason Fine looked good. He's getting better and better every single week. His receivers, they're gaining that chemistry. I didn't think that this team would be able to move the ball as well as they are, honestly, without Trevor Harris, because Trevor Harris surprised me at the start of the season. But when I look at this Riders team, they're playing pretty well. And realistically, a lot of their turnovers are leading to scores for their opponents. And if you look at really the offensive line for Montreal, which I think has always been kind of a problem, now you've got Cody Fajardo that's coming into this game banged up. If he does play, won't be able to escape the pocket very much, and their number 1 running back is injured. So it's a head scratcher. How much is the home field advantage being factored in? Because I think some people would argue that Saskatchewan, maybe Winnipeg, but I'd say Saskatchewan probably has the best home field in the West. Montreal probably has the best home record over many, many years in the East. But I think this is far too many points. This game, to me, could be decided between a field goal. The punt return game has been good for Saskatchewan. And my last point about this one would be this, Jeff. You look at Montreal and who they've played. They have not really surprised me in any game this year so far. Last week, they came back and they won and they had a good second half, but they're a team that's defeated teams they should, and they've lost the teams they should lose to. There hasn't been really one game where they've played where I've been like, wow, I got to write that down. And the game that might have been that game was against Calgary. And I'll quote you, Calgary lost that game. Montreal didn't win it. Remember that? Like, you and I are both talking about that. Jake
Oh,
Mayer,
yeah.
0 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Realistically, Montreal, and I was saying that to Gabe Morency on Sports Grid, and he goes, well, I mean, they did beat Calgary. And I told him, hey, did they beat Calgary? What did they do to beat Calgary? Because I don't think they really beat Calgary that much. So I think it's a good spot to take the underdog here.
Sprinkle a little
And
pizza
total
and beer
wise, I
money
think
on
I
the
would
outright.
definitely. Total wise, I would usually go over, but with the injuries, I'll look towards the under, actually.
All right, 44 and a half there. La 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 la. On Saturday, is that right? Yeah, I'm not missing one here. Yeah. Calgary at BC. I had an opening number of 6 with a 45. Now 45 and a half and a flat 6. You had talked yesterday about this game. For some reason, my love affair for Calgary. BC will be chomping at the bit for me. If I was to play this game, I would lean initially BC first half here. Expect a few turnovers, a few Calgary stumbling like they do early, and then they've been a good second half team. I would lean BC first half. But here again, I will be interested to see where the public moves this game, because if I got to 6.5, I might buy the half point or a point to get a full touchdown with Calgary, because I think they're dangerous enough. Obviously, their defense is putrid. BC, if they win the turnover battle, I think should have an easy pickings here, but I lean BC first half here.
Yeah, to me, the difference in this game is defense. Calgary hasn't really gotten a stop against anybody. That all of their games they've been involved in, and Calgary's actually, if you look at it, if you put up like a board of how they played this year next to all the games they played in last year, it's been a lot of the similar type of games. Like if we were to pick one, if we had to just sit in a room and watch reruns of one team's games for the last 2 years, entertainment wise, we'd probably want to watch Calgary's games. They've all been down to the wire. They've all been high scoring. And a lot of times they lose those games. They don't find a way to win. They choke those games near the end of it, but they give up points to whoever they play against. And BC 5-0 last 5 opportunities against the spread after an ATS loss. Same thing straight up after a straight up loss. They're 5-0 last 5 games ATS at home. So, I mean, there's so many different things to look at. And this Calgary team, they're 1-4 their last 5 games after an ATS win. Following up these victories doesn't really seem to be a specialty of this team. And I don't want to sound like that guy, but I think the elephant in the room is this. Chad Kelly got hurt. Did they really beat Toronto, or did they beat a Toronto team with a lot of problems? A little bit of both, probably. But this number is obviously moving. We saw -5 at some books at the opener. We've seen as high as 6.5, maybe even 1.7 if it got there at some books. So it's the settling number seems to be 6. Mm-hmm. I like BC, and I think the difference throughout 4 quarters is the defense in this one. So I'll be looking at BC's team total. I still think it could go over. So I know it sounds funny saying the difference will be the defense, but I think that when it comes down to it in crunch time, BC will make those big plays. Important to mention as well, looks like Vernon Adams Jr. will be back in the starting shoes for this one. And probably in good time, because Dane Evans got hurt last week. So it's just a QB carousel.
The last game on the board, really, as we talked backstage, kind of tough right now. I had an initial number of 4.5 with a 41.5. Obviously, the quarterback, Chad Kelly, is the question mark. You said you saw 9.5s, 10s if he was playing. So there's no number out there right now. If you want to give a quick breakdown on that and your thought process, obviously, if Chad plays, you're looking at, probably a double digit. Without Chad, they're floating a 4.5 with a 41.5.
I think we're going to see the game close around 6.5 for the Argos. So I think that if you like the dog in this one, you'd probably want to wait. I actually like the under in this one, believe it or not, even though it's such a even though it's such a low scoring, a low total at 41.5. I think defenses are figuring out Dustin Crum. I think he had those 2 big wins over both Calgary and Winnipeg. Obviously, they had a shootout against Saskatchewan last week. But when I look at Toronto, with Kelly not being able to escape the pocket if he is in there, or if it's a backup, the plays will be different. They have 2 of the best running backs in the league. Things might be a little more simplified. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever to see a relatively low scoring victory for the Argonauts. So I might stay away from the point spread here and try and catch either, a good number as far as the under, or even play this one live, because I think this one might be, even though a lot of times we've seen the last game of the week, Jeff, be the most exciting game, I don't think that's the case in this one. However, we haven't seen Toronto off a loss yet, which is something that kind of makes me hesitant coming off that loss against Calgary. But expect their defense to shine in this one against Ottawa.
The scroll has been going the whole time. Everyone knows they can go find you at McInnis Picks, all your work at Wager Talk, Mayflower Sports. Tell them what you have for this week. We're at August 9th, so we got a couple more weeks, obviously, of this month before September kicks off. NCAA, NFL, and you and I were talking about NHL already. So we'll be getting into that as we get closer there. But what do you have to offer for everyone, and where can they find it?
Yeah, so I've got a best bet out of all the ones I just talked about today. On the show here, going for this weekend in the CFL. This Friday, I'm going to be launching a package that will include my CFL plays, anything I mentioned in the get going in the playoffs as far as futures or big bets in the playoffs as well. Comboed with NFL props, NFL sides, and totals, as well as my NFL win totals. So a lot of people do the combo packages with college football, NFL. I'm doing NFL sides, totals, props, and throwing in CFL at a really good price. That will come out on Friday, so you can keep an eye out on that one. Other than that, Jeff, I'm keeping it real low volume with baseball, as you and I have talked about. It's a tough sport to read right now. It's one that I want to take my time with, and I feel like overall, when I do that, I've had the most success. So, and it's honestly been nice to put my fan hat on a little bit. I think I've been pretty good at picking my spots when to bet on the Blue Jays, but most of the time I'm just sitting back and cheering them on, and hopefully they can at least make the wild card game for me.
I was listening to Mitch and Paulie this morning on VSiN, and Paulie was shaking his head. He's like, the Jays give up 3 hits and somehow lose 1-0, and it's just it's mind-boggling. And then then they go right into the Oriole game, where the Orioles were up 4-0, 6-2, 6-3, and facing the Astros last night against the best closer in the game, who didn't give up a run in the month of July, and then Tucker, battles them for 10, 11, 12 pitches. Hits a grand slam. Thanks for playing. So that's the way the MLB has been going. And all the ECSI VIPs out there, you as well, that get our information, that's the way it's been. That's why I've pumped the brakes. I don't take losing well. And we don't get to where we are today, 8.5 years in, by just throwing darts. So if we see something, it will be released. And as you were talking about Colorado, Milwaukee, 5-5 now, bottom of the 7th. Smart play on the first 5 there, young man. And congrats there. So, and the Marlins find a way to win 5-4 at Cincinnati. The fading red machine there. So everyone, Riley will be back, I think, around 5 o'clock for the closing bell. At 6 o'clock, myself and Brady Cannon will be here to get you ready for the first round of the FedEx Cup. And tomorrow, I'm not sure what's going on tomorrow. So everyone, thank you for watching and following. Go follow myself at EC Sports Invest, Andrew at McInnis Picks, and obviously at Wager Talk. Behave yourself, cash a few tickets. Any questions, comments, concerns, you know where to find us. We'll see you soon.